What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about a comment that a man by the name of Dr. Jeffrey A. Lieberman said about a South Sudanese model by the name of Nyakim Gatwech. And I apologize. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing her name, so I apologize about that. But I'd seen this story floating around social media a little while ago, and I really want to give my thoughts, my opinions, my commentary on this whole situation. Let you know what I think about all that's involved in this situation, and also a disclaimer / FYI. I am going to be somewhat playing white devil's advocate in this video, just a little bit, just to get different sides of arguments and different sides of the story, that sort of a thing. So just a bit of a warning there. It's not that I'm caping, but more so just lure different aspects of the story. But let's get into this story. So Dr. Jeffrey A. Lieberman, he posted a comment via Twitter, and he posted it about the model Nyakim Gatwech. There was a photo of her, and he commented on it. And he said the following: "Whether a work of art or a freak of nature, she's a beautiful sight to behold." And this comment triggered some criticism, especially from black people, especially from black women, but also from other groups of people as well. But why? Why did this comment trigger criticism, you think? And I think what did it was the phrase freak of nature. And a lot of people, especially when I look at these articles that are speaking about the story, they say that Jeffrey A. Lieberman, he was referring to the model's skin tone as being, quote unquote, a freak of nature. But he did say whether a work of art or freak of nature. So he technically was not calling her a freak of nature, but he was implying that she could possibly be a freak of nature, and people are thinking that the implication is due to her having really dark, rich, melanated skin. But before we go any further, let's give a quick rundown of the phrase freak of nature. And I looked up the phrase freak of nature, and Merriam-Webster referred me to the word freak. Basically, both of the phrase freak and the word freak and the phrase freak of nature circle back to each other and are considered to have the same definition. But I saw two definitions. And the first one said, a very unusual and unexpected event or situation. And I don't think this is what is quite being referred to when Dr. Lieberman said freak of nature. Let's look at the second definition, though. A person, animal, or plant with an unusual physical abnormality. Unusual physical abnormality. And many people felt like he was referring to her skin tone as being a quote unquote unusual physical abnormality. And let's explore some of the synonyms of freak of nature, like aberration, abnormality, anomaly, irregularity, malformation, monster, monstrosity, mutant, oddity. The majority of those words do have a negative connotation. The only one I think of that might be a bit more positive is anomaly. And I think that Dr. Lieberman may have chosen his words poorly. Because had he said whether a work of art or a beautiful anomaly, something like that, I think it would have went over a little bit better. Again, playing white devil's advocate here. But the thing is, what did it was the word freak, and people didn't appreciate a white man, a privileged white man, referring to a very dark-skinned black woman's skin tone as being, quote unquote, a freak of nature. Because there are implications in all that, right? Because, like, a quick question. Do you think that dark skin is normalized in American society? Like, skin dark as the model skin tone. Nyakim, as dark as her skin tone. Do you think that's, like, normal or considered, quote unquote, normal in American society? And of course, normal is relative, right? In South Sudan, her skin tone would probably be considered normal, quote unquote, right? Nothing out of the ordinary. In fact, she may even be considered light skinned in South Sudan. Like South Sudan people looking at her and being like, dang girl, you so pale. You need to get out in the sun more often. In South Sudan, right? But in the United States, it may be a little bit different. And Dr. Lieberman is in the United States. But another thing I want to bring up right quick, and again, I'm just trying to explore different aspects of this. Let's say if Dr. Lieberman referred to like LeBron James or Kobe or Michael Jordan as quote unquote freaks of nature. Do you think it would have went over better? Probably. I think they wouldn't. People who hear that and hear it referred to like Kobe, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, etc., I think they wouldn't attribute it automatically to skin tone. I think they would attribute it to athleticism and perhaps like their body structure and their height. Like if you referred to like Shaq as a freak of nature. And I feel like Shaq probably has been referred to as a freak of nature. I don't think people probably meant any harm by that, But just because you don't mean any harm and you don't intend to harm people with your you make, it doesn't necessarily mean that people don't sometimes get harmed by those comments. Because we don't truly know what people internalize until we end up seeing them act out in some sort of a way. And hopefully this supermodel, Nyakim, did not, internalize any sort of negativity associated with the comment that Dr. Lieberman made. She did go on social media and say that, she loves her dark skin and she loves being called Queen of Dark. But, she could be telling the truth, of course. And this may not be an issue for her. But we don't know what people feel within. We don't know what people go through internally, and we don't know how people react behind closed doors. She could just be put it on a strong front, as she should. I wouldn't want to see her like break down on social media about this comment. But we do have to be aware of what we put out in the atmosphere, like what we put out as far as like our messages are concerned. Because I know some people will come through and be all like, well, who cares what he thinks? Who cares what that white man thinks about her? That doesn't matter. Who cares about his opinion? And I do agree that his opinion really is irrelevant, but we do need to care about the potential negative message and side effects that could come from his opinion that he expressed so openly. Because, yeah, Nyakim, she may be okay, but there may be a young girl who's a bit more impressionable out there who may not have fortified her self-esteem, who may still be in that process of doing that. Or perhaps it may be an adult. We don't know. We're just making assumptions. But for those people, we do need to address and check the comment. And jumping back to the guys for a minute, if like Shaq, Kobe, Michael, LeBron, etc., right? If they were referred to as freaks of nature, it'd be all well and good or whatever. But think about it, though, the dehumanizing aspect of, that some of these athletes have gone through as of recently, right? Like, think about it. Like, when there were athletes in the NFL protesting police brutality by kneeling for the anthem, how did people react? It was like, pretty much, no, we don't want to deal with that. No, shut up and run that ball, boy. Do what we pay you to do. Their humanity in that particular situation, and more importantly, like their well-being, like their safety, and their concerns about those things were dismissed. Yeah, the NFL is doing a little bit of something now, a little bit, so they can, pacify some people. But, they ain't really gonna do nothing that is too quote unquote revolutionary on the behalf of Black/African American folks. And of course we know that when it came to Black people in America, like the slavery experience, like a lot of negative things came from that experience, of course, as we all know. But as Dr. Joy DeGrow, I believe that's how you say her name, as she says, like the worst thing that came from slavery and that still lingers on today is dehumanization of Black people. And in this situation with Dr. Lieberman and Nyakim, I don't think, again, playing white devil's advocate here, I don't think that was his intent. But as I mentioned earlier, intent is just part of it. It's also about what comes from what you say and what you do. But he did issue an apology. But the thing is, this apology was not posted on Twitter, the social media platform he used to post his initial comment. The comment, or his apology, was in an email to faculty and staff from Columbia University, Urban Medical Center / New York Presbyterian Hospital. But he had said, this is what he had said, quote unquote, I tweeted from my personal account a message that was sexist. Interesting. I don't really see the sexism our misogyny, our misogynoir aspect of this being really explored. I don't think, maybe I'm missing something, but I didn't really explore like a ton of articles about this. I just seen the title. So maybe it may be, but I feel like people are more so exploring the racism aspect of it though, which is typical. Let's be real, which is typical. You know, black women are often in situations where it's either race or gender. You can't have both. You can't be black and a woman. You can only be a woman or you can only be black. And if you try to advocate specifically for black women in black spaces, you will be vilified. And if you try to specifically advocate for black women in quote unquote spaces for women, aka white women, you will be vilified as well. What does a black woman do? In fact, people even had a problem with Kimberly Crenshaw in her phrase intersectionality. Like if you go on the video about her, or the video with her doing like a TED talk about intersectionality, and you know, she was the one to coin that phrase, right? You'll see a lot of comments, and that is sad. Like people really got a problem when black women want to advocate specifically for black women. But that's another video. But back to the comment that Dr. Lieberman made. So he said, quote unquote, I tweeted from my personal account a message that was racist and sexist, prejudices, and stereotypical assumptions I didn't know I held have been exposed to myself and to you. And I'm deeply ashamed and very sorry. An apology from me to the black community, to women, and to all of you is not enough. I've hurt many, and I am beginning to understand the work ahead to make needed personal changes and over time to regain your trust. But that's nice, but notice in that comment he didn't specify black women. Black women still got overlooked as a collective, and this whole situation is involving a black woman and people feeling that she was disparaged. So that was his apology, and I'm sure Dr. Lieberman will be okay. You know, they just sending him on a little vacation. And as well, I'm sure that Nyakim will also be okay as well. Another thing I want to bring up is the phrase work of art. And that phrase, I don't think it really triggered many people because people typically view that as being complimentary, right? Like, oh, wow. You know, if someone said that, oh, wow, like you look like a work of art. Wow. You probably wouldn't think to be offended by that. You probably would consider that to be a compliment. But some people may feel that that in itself, that comment is somewhat dehumanizing. Not on the surface, but when you really think about it, it's like, oh, you know, she is a work of art, you know, and she may be very beautiful, but ultimately she is just an object. That could be a reach. I could be reaching with that. But I think it's worth exploring and putting out there at least. But how about you guys out there? Do you think that, you know, her skin tone makes her, you know, a freak of nature or a work of art? And, you know, I'll say, you know, I'll be forthcoming here. I'm in the United States and, you know, I'm not used to seeing like on my day to day, like seeing, you know, people as dark and melanated as Nyakim. I am, of course, I'm definitely used to seeing like darker skinned black people, of course, definitely. That's not anything out of the ordinary for me, you know. And to be real, like in most of the black circles that I have been in the black, communities and black schools, black neighborhoods and whatnot, usually I was the person with, the different skin tone. Like most people were like brown and dark skin, while I'm more so on the lighter end of the spectrum. Like, I, technically could be considered the freak of nature since things are relative. But, I was never, for the most part, really was never referred to as that, like, in a, like any sort of like disparaging way. And that could be for a few reasons. It may be that they have people in their family who perhaps have a similar skin tone as me, so it's not something that would be considered out of the ordinary for them. They could have people in their neighborhoods who may have had similar skin tones. The media can help as well. Definitely the media. But again, it is all relative, though. But, I won't discount that there can be some like anti-black racism that's in that, because we know as far as we've gotten in society, at the end of the day, anti-blackness, it still permeates through society. It still lingers on in society. One more thing I do want to bring up right quick is there's like a video on YouTube of like this young African boy seeing a white man for the first time and being scared to death, thinking that he was a ghost based on his really pale skin tone. Again, normal is relative to the individual and society. There's normal on a macro level and normal on a micro level. But I guess one more thing before I go. I thought that was going to be the last thing. I should have known better. But the skin tone and how we within the black community and within the diaspora view, very dark skin tones, especially on black women. Because, I have, here and there over the years kind of heard a little comment here and a little comment there about like, and this is from black women about skin tone, as far as like, quote unquote, not wanting to be too dark, right? Where it's like, oh, they're fine with being dark to a certain extent, but they don't want to be like, quote unquote, too dark. Like brown skin is good, right? And again, this is the women. We already know, of course, how some of the men get down, right? So, while we are getting at Dr. Lieberman, which we should, we can also take a little bit of time to assess our own biases that we may hold within the community about certain skin tones, especially like on the darker side and on women, black women. But hopefully this beautiful melanated sister, Nyakim, can use this situation to parlay this into some sort of a modeling opportunity with some, very prestigious brand of, perfume, clothing, cosmetics, etc., and get to that check. But thank you very much for watching this video. Pretty much said that, all that I have to say for the time being. So again, thanks a lot. Please let me know what you think about this situation in the comment section below. And until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.